If this is your first or second time here, hope you enjoy your stay. If this is your third time here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on when we post. And if you want to support the channel even more, you can become a member. You'll get 2 exclusive videos a month for now. And your name in the credits of each video made that month. So, you know, that's neat. Anyway, let's get into it. Today we're going to talk about a place that was originally proposed for Fallout Van Buren, which was the first Fallout 3 game, made by the original creators of Fallout before it was sold over to Bethesda. And this place is known as, well, New Paradise. Now, a unique thing about this is a lot of the stuff that was going to be used in Van Buren was repurposed for Fallout 3. If memory serves me correctly, Joshua Graham is one of those storylines that was brought over from Van Buren. So we can take the vast majority of locations from Van Buren anyway, and figure that they still exist in the Fallout world until stated otherwise. One of those places we're going to be taking a look at is the lost city of New Paradise. Now we'll start with the founding of New Paradise. Now New Paradise most likely started off as a small town just known as Paradise. We got weird towns like that all over the United States, from Serenity to Tranquility to Perfection and Rejection, and we got all sorts of places all over the US, right? So New Paradise probably started off as a small town. I feel like it was built not too far from the Mariposa military base, because most military bases in the United States have towns either located extremely close or literally built around the base to act as a place for the families who are, you know, family members to the people that work on the base to live at and in, because after all, you can't have an officer's family living around the families of the common soldiers and whatnot, you know. So most likely a military-based town. Most likely, since how important the Mariposa base was, it was most likely placed outside the range of nuclear targets and in a location where wind patterns prevented radioactive fallout from settling over the area. Alright? You can think of it like Jericho from the Jericho Show. I know I referenced that more than once, but it's strangely applicable to Fallout. Now, this being a government-built town, it most likely had advanced infrastructure, underground bunkers, and even self-sustaining food and water supplies. After all, we have the water chips, and we have food creation systems that are used in the vaults. We also have the unique technologies of the Sierra Madre that can make food and drink. This place most likely had systems such as this in place to make sure everything for the people that live there, they wouldn't need to wander about and maybe give out secrets of what was going on. After all, you can't really trust someone not to tell their wife about something, right? Then the wife is going to talk, and you know how it is. That's especially since Fallout is the future of the 1950s, right? You gotta think with that mindset going into this. Now, after the bombs fell, rumors most likely spread like wildfire of a town that existed, untouched by both the blasts of the bombs and radiation. Now, desperate survivors would have flocked to that area, seeing as it had become a beacon of hope, and perhaps the last true pre-war city of the United States. Now, most likely quickly transformed from a hidden retreat for just the elite few into a bustling settlement of refugees, traders, and opportunists looking for a safe haven. It's possible some remnants of the government may have stayed there, or, you know, Enclave personnel. But what we do know is all of the scientists that would have had their families here, and all of the working personnel and military officers whose families would have been here, if they weren't loyal to Roger Maxson and his soldiers, then they would have been executed, right? Now, I'm guessing Roger Maxson was probably one of the types that had to stay on the military base, the Mariposa military base, with his family, so he probably did not know this town existed. The higher-ups that he put to the sword, though, well, it's probably where their families were located. Now, their families had no idea what was going on at Mariposa, so they would have just been normal people out there trying to help anyone else that came along that was needing help, right? Now, I don't truly know what would happen there, but New Paradise, having been saved from the bombs and saved from the radiation, having its own food and its own water, infrastructure untouched, technology still working because EMPs couldn't reach it. Being so close to the Mariposa military base most likely offered some drawbacks, be it through breach of containment, let's say, of the Mariposa military base. Either it being sabotage, it being post-war containment failures. I feel like the new plague would have taken a hold here again. Now, the new plague, for those of you that don't know, was a type of disease that ravaged pre-war America before the bombs even fell. It was a horrific disease, killed damn near everyone that got it. Kind of just disappeared, though. I'm guessing it was so deadly that it burned itself out, right? If a disease is too deadly that it kills damn near everyone that gets it, if they don't go around people for like a day, then that infection just kind of burns itself out to nothingness, right? And I think that's what happened with the new plague. Of course, the government being the government most likely tested on this new plague to figure out how they could make people immune to it. And to those of you that do not know, the Pan-Immunity Viron Project, which was a project started by West Tech, if memory serves me correctly, was created to make people immune to, well, the new plague and every other disease and radiation. It's just too bad that the Pan-Immunity Viron Project, when put into practice, did everything it was meant to do. It made people immune to the new plague. It made people immune to all diseases. It made them healthier, faster, stronger. The problem is, it allowed the person to mutate uncontrollably. The Pan-Immunity Viron Project, if you watched my previous video on this, is literally the precursor to the FEV. So I'm guessing, with Mariposa being a test bed for FEV, that the diseases they were trying to cure and make people immune to were most likely on hand at the Mariposa facility. After all, you can't make sure something's immune to it unless you have the disease to expose it to, right? The problem with the FEV is that it's literally the forced evolutionary virus. Viruses in known history are known to mutate. Well, what happens when you bind the FEV with the new plague? You get a disease that probably isn't too much unlike the Black Death. That's probably bleeding through the soil of New Paradise. Maybe the water, maybe it was airborne. I do not know, but what I do know is that New Paradise, since all names in Fallout are kinda ironic in ways, such as Necropolis being a city for people that look dead instead of people being dead, and Paradise Falls in Fallout 3 being a slaver's paradise, along with many, many other examples of it. I'm guessing that as people of New Paradise began to fall sick, panic set in. Symptoms could have ranged from fever and lesions to grotesque mutations of pus-filled abominations bleeding everywhere, probably forcing the town itself to shut itself down from the outside world. Again, it would have been a military town. It would have had defense systems in place. You could think of it kind of like Covenant from Fallout 4. Covenant from Fallout 4. Concrete walls around it, turrets on the outside of it, able to keep itself safe if needed. Now, the fall of New Paradise, well, that came when there was no way to really stop the outbreak. So the people that were there probably abandoned the city. The remaining survivors probably quarantined themselves in it, sending away all those that tried to show up for help, refusing to let anyone else into the city to prevent further infection. Over time, it was probably just forgotten about. Maybe hidden beneath the sands of California at that point. Or just natural decay, you know? The disease could have wiped out every last survivor in New Paradise, leaving it a preserved ghost town, ready to mow down anyone that came close to it to make sure the infection would never spread. A lost, untouched, pre-war city where buildings stand untouched because no one dares enter the place. Now, New Paradise could be one of the last true pre-war cities, hidden deep in the ruins of California. But unlike other settlements that were scavenged and repurposed, it remains in pristine condition. A ghost town frozen in time. No one would dare step inside of it out of fear of the new plague's return, and that keeps even the most hardened wasteland adventurers away from it. Some say the city's still out there, its lights flickering in the night, occupied by ghoulish survivors immune to the new plague, Others claim it's a cursed place where the spirits of the infected still wander, seeking to spread their suffering. Almost fucked up the word seeking. That would have been embarrassing. Maybe in the future, some poor wastelander will unknowingly stumble into New Paradise and awaken whatever remains inside. Maybe the new plague mutated the people inside that were left into some type of disease-carrying super ghouls, much like Typhoid Mary was. Maybe they just... Maybe everyone's dead. Maybe they just find an empty city, still completely devoid of radiation, still perfectly preserved. But maybe the new plague sleeps in the soil there. Maybe it comes about again. A new plague for a new era, to burn what's left of the world once more, an old death. Anyway, I think the idea of New Paradise like this fits perfectly within the world of Fallout. It's a place where utopian ideals turned into a nightmare due to the hubris of pre-war America, right? It happens all the time in these games, which is just amazing. It would be a fascinating and amazing story for players to uncover, with old hints and terminals and shit like that. Maybe we have to go in and clear it out or something. It'd just be something cool to see in another Fallout game actually set on the West Coast, but Bethesda doesn't like to play with the West Coast in its games. It sticks strictly to the East Coast for some reason. Maybe because they know they'll butcher every fucking thing they set out that way. Anyway, thanks for watching this little theory video on a place. This was fun to make. Might make more like this at some point. Pull up some old city and town names from Van Buren and see what I could figure out and come up with. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm gonna head on out.